You're listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Welcome, listeners, to another episode of All Good Things, a Star Trek Universe podcast here on BQN and the Fandom Podcast Network. I'm your host, Christos, and with me today are Amy and Kelvin. Good morning and good afternoon. Amy, how are you doing?
Oh, well, I am doing much, much better compared to last week, listeners. I sincerely apologize. There was something happening to me sickness-wise that was not good. So we do apologize, but I'm back, healthy, and ready to talk Trek.
Wow, it's really good to see you up and running. Yeah, we were a little worried about you because we weren't even getting responses in our group text. So it's good to see you up and running. Yeah, that would have left Kelvin running the show alone because everybody else had something going on. Kelvin reading a whole episode by himself. I mean, you could have talked about the Inner Light by yourself, huh, Kelvin?
Well, I was logged on and good to go, but it reminds me of when Amy used to read the tech manual on Galaxy Class when no one else showed up. I was like, do I reach for the Voyager companion and just read a few pages? Right? No, let's have a week off.
Yeah, a little bedtime
That's much
story.
Easier.
Yeah. Well, we did have that extra long episode of the Wrath of Khan coverage, and we have a double episode today that we'll talk about here in a few minutes. Kelvin, do you want to catch us up on what's been happening on the Khan audio podcast?
I would love to, because I'm enjoying it so much. Mm-hmm. So clearly we weren't here last week, so we didn't get to talk about episode 2, Sherazade. And then we have episode 3 this week's Do Your Worst. So I really enjoyed episode 2. Mm-hmm. I loved the character development that we got for Marla MacGyver's, and also as well the Khan kind of the aspects of him of being a leader rather than a monster. So actually, I know he is human, but humanizing him a little bit more than this kind of one-note crazy person dictator that we get. And what I know you just said off that you were struggling to pronounce the episode title. Do you know how I know this? I'm a huge fan of Disney's Aladdin, and the Robin Williams song has Sherazade in the dialogue. So it says, Alibaba had them 40 thieves, Sherazade had 1,000 tales. And I'd never heard the story that Marla MacGyver's told. So now one of my favorite Disney songs makes sense because of that. So I love it. I love how things together.
No one fandoms collide.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, I also really enjoyed hearing Khan, like, he wants this beautiful planet. He's going to be a successful leader, and let's get this done. And like, you can see that his hopes are bright for everyone. That was really nice. And then, the relationship and the females and the bickering. And I was like, okay, that's cute because I'm sure it happened. But I was glad there was only one episode of the women. Beep, 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 beep.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it myself. It's, the one thing I will say is I feel like maybe it's moving too fast. For me, I would like to see, like, I don't know, it's maybe writer's choice, but we have 8 episodes here, and it's by the end of episode 3, things are already going wrong. They're losing people. They're discovering the eel and what it is, and haven't quite figured that out yet. But people are dying already, and so I'm like, I kind of wish there was a little bit more peacetime for these guys before everything started hitting the fan. But it's already hitting the fan.
Yeah. So I have a question. So from Sherazade to Do Your Worst, what was that time period? Because it seemed like a significant amount of time. I thought.
I think it was back to back because if you remember, they brought the body back. Ivan carried the body that died in episode 2.
Right.
And then Khan came back a little later with the guy with the eel. So I think they were.
Okay.
Yeah.
It just seemed like there was so much terror when the last episode was so hopeful and bright. So yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's kind of my point. Like, and there was a little bit, I think there was a little bit more of a jump between episode 1 and 2. This 2 and 3 were just back to back.
Okay.
But you know, I am really enjoying it. You know, there's one or two of the voice actors, by the way, who are not good. I think it's one of the gals that's talking to Marla MacGyver's, maybe, but otherwise, the voice acting is really good. But there is one that seems pretty amateurish, and so it's a little bit that kind of takes me out of it sometimes. But I'm here for it. It's good. It's really good.
Did you notice in the last episode where things got a little bit ghoulish towards the end, the sound effects of all like the attack, and there was a lot of like breaking of necks, and it was quite uncomfortable to listen in a good way, because that's obviously you're supposed to find it uncomfortable. But when I thought, how's Khan gonna kill this lad? Is he gonna break his neck? He's gonna break his neck, isn't it? And I was waiting for that horrible noise to come, and it did. And I was driving while I was listening.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's audio drama, so you have to get that effect audibly without showing it. You can't see it, so you have to come across that way. I
wonder if they took the sound from Ash breaking Culber's neck.
Oh
yeah. Yeah. I do like there's like even some implication of sexy time going on in this thing.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
I was like, oh, people are getting it on. And yeah. I'm like, okay, this is it's a little more adult, which I appreciate sometimes. So
yeah, that little part reminded me the augments from Enterprise, like how they were.
Oh, they were randy.
Yeah. that's what came into my head picture.
They were too busy being at it every few minutes to mend all the holes in their clothes. They should have stitched up all them little patches they had.
You are such the British guy. I love it. So, Amy, do you want to introduce our topic for this week? And it's our last episode, also starting our hiatus. So, hopefully, this is going to tide you over to view screen.
Yes. So we are doing part 3 of our That's a Wrap series. And so we are discussing Voyager's Endgame. So years after Voyager's return to the Alpha Quadrant, Admiral Janeway resolves to alter the past in order to help her crew get home sooner.
Yes. This
very questionable.
Very questionable, yes. And I will say, just off the bat, I do love Endgame. Like, I can just put this on at any time for comfort and enjoy it. So, really quickly before we jump in, what are your overall thoughts, Amy, on Endgame?
So I watched this in preparation, and I was watching with one who had not seen it, and the going back and forth was having a hard time catching up. And I'm like, well, here's your visual cue. When you see something of Starfleet medical or, whatever, then we're now Admiral Janeway. So that, and I could see that would be a little jarring. And plus, they hadn't seen everything before. And so it was like, well, did Voyager get home? What was the episode like before? So like coming at it without knowing it, I'm sure very, very confusing. But I enjoy it. It's not my favorite finale at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Kelvin, how do we feel about Endgame?
I love it. There are aspects of the story that I don't like, which I will probably cover when we get to Regenerations. But overall, it is just such a tour de force for Kate Mulgrew. Two Kates are better than one. She's the dialogue, the delivery, the fully formed Janeway character is brilliant. But interestingly, what you've just said, Amy, about introducing this episode to someone who's not seen, I remember when I was in my university accommodation, I got all of my non-Star Trek housemates into Star Trek through this episode. So they watched Endgame and then was like, that was really good. And then they started watching the rest of Voyager. So
Okay.
to watch the end of Voyager as your first episode really ruins it, because you know they get home at the end. So they didn't struggle, but and it hooked them.
Yeah. Okay.
Great.
That's funny. I would never think of introducing a series finale to somebody as an entry point. But if you are knowing that they're a fan of sci-fi and sci-fi concepts and whatnot, there's a lot of that going on in this episode. So you guys both mentioned Janeway quite a bit here. So why don't we just dig right into it? We finished last episode with the needs of the many are greater than the needs of the one. Well, here we are next episode, and this is more about the needs of the one. So let's talk about Admiral Janeway and her, I guess, the moral dilemma. We'll just rip the Band-Aid off. Is Admiral Janeway justified in altering the timeline to bring Voyager home early? It seems a little self-serving, but hey, it makes for good TV. Kelvin, what do you think?
Ooh, drum roll. No. She shouldn't have done it, because they get home in the end anyway. So it's not like Timeless, where they die and the ship is destroyed and then we're going to change the past to save the crew. This is, we're just going to shave a few years off so a few fewer people die. So it's the galactic and temporal consequences of what she's done. There's no real reason for it. She's just given the crew 10 or so years different experiences. So if you think Miral Paris should have grown up on Voyager and didn't, so how would that have changed the development of that character? The poor Doctor hasn't met his wife now that he marries at the beginning of the episode. They wouldn't have met. So she's, as well as saving characters, she's destroyed a lot of what is acknowledged in that alternate future history that she's undone. So, and then you can't help but think about season 3 of Picard as well now, and the whole, the effects on the Borg, the neurolytic pathogen, as everything that has happened with Jack Crusher, would that have happened if Janeway was here? So there's far-reaching consequences to all this, and I just don't think it was worth it.
All right. Amy, how do you feel about this?
Well, how many episodes have we previously seen that one person changes history? And so, she's just saving her little crew. And, we get Chakotay, so now we have Prodigy. So that's, good. And Janeways, so now we have Picard. But that's a huge alteration of her timeline. And so I just have to put it in my mind of, okay, Janeway doesn't like this timeline, so she's going to parallel swap and just go to another one. Like with Worf not winning his Bat'leth tournament. Let's just go and find a page that Janeway thinks is her page. Yeah. So if you allow the flexibility of controlling your own destiny, this is a great story.
Yeah, this episode does kind of fly in the face of a lot of things that were taught in Star Trek prior to this, right? Like, hey, you're not, what's the difference between, Janeway and, somebody like Soren, where it's like a madman. I don't like how things are, and I want to change things. So me. I miss 7 of 9. I miss Chakotay, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
Or Tuvok. I didn't get a chance to heal Tuvok. So she doesn't like that, and I get it. It's because of a decision she made way back in the Caretaker episode. So she has that guilt. But at the same time, in any other iteration of Star Trek, if one person is trying to do something like this, they're the madman, they're the villain. But
is it because, like with Soren, like it's an entire planet? We know the cost of changing that, where we don't really know the cost of bringing 7 back or having 2. Maybe one of them goes mad. We don't know the cost, and so it's less stakes.
I mean,
Maybe.
you could argue that maybe Soren's a bad example. I'm sure Kelvin's got another one he can think of where there is just one person trying to change things.
Jake Sisko in The Visitor.
There
Oh,
you go.
Yeah.
See.
It's weird you say that about Janeway, me, because I actually always viewed it as quite altruistic what she's doing, because she's trying to change everybody else's future. She's trying to stop them dying. She's trying to get them home earlier. There isn't really any kind of acknowledgement of anything that Janeway is changing about her own timeline or destiny, even though she is doing that. You know, the development into Admiral Janeway is a completely different development to an Admiral Janeway now. It's a different character, but it's weird because it's actually quite manipulative leadership that she's changing everything, and it's supposedly all about other people and to benefit other people. But you're right, Christos, she's doing it because she wants to.
yeah.
Yeah, it's to relieve her own guilt and her own, So,
Well, do you think she really was guilty from the first episode? What was that called?
Caretaker.
Yeah, Caretaker. Because, like, in that episode, she's like, I made that decision and I do not regret it. Like, Admiral Janeway. No, or Captain Janeway says that.
Yeah. And if she had not made that decision, she never would have liberated 7 and 9, because that would happen years later in the Delta Quadrant. So, I mean, there's every way you can look at that. So like everything, I kind of just gets into that like juxtaposition as, we have, and we'll talk a little bit more about this later, but like, we are all the sum of our experiences, right? Even what we just said 5 minutes ago is now our history. And it's that, every time you say there's a different fork in the road, what if I had gone the other way? What, that's,
yes.
I mean, that's moral dilemma in itself. So speaking of everything we know about Starfleet and Starfleet ethics and temporal prime directives and temporal interference, I mean, how did she get away with this, you guys think? Is it just a convenient writing?
Were the Department of Temporal Investigations? Why didn't they come after her and undo the damage?
I mean, you think they would have showed up right there and then when she stole the little device and Harry's chasing her down, and
yes,
like they would have showed up right then and then and said nope.
So I guess we could assume, and we know what happens when you assume, but they didn't show up. There go. It's approved by the temporal, and this should be happening. How about that?
I mean, maybe it's they foresaw the the events later in Picard, which I do have in here as a little thing for us to talk about. I'll get mentioned later, but yeah, maybe this needed to happen because something else needs to happen.
Yeah. What I've always thought of this episode as well is why 7 years in? I know there was the transwarp hub and that was a way to get home, but there are other times that Voyager could have got home previously in Voyager. So why didn't she go back a little bit further to save them so many years in the Delta Quadrant and to save more crew members who have previously died? So they could have gone and used the Barzan wormhole in season 3 in the Ferengi episode. They could have done more things with the transwarp coils and the slipstream drives. So this whole thing about saving crew members, why did she say, I'm not actually going to save anyone until 7 of 9? There's so many people who have died that she could have saved.
True. You could argue like, well, Neelix just left the ship and he's not going, he's found his home and he's off the ship now. I mean, it sounds a little weak compared to someone being dead, but we all know the real world version of it. That's exactly where we were in our actual production 7 years, and this is where the show's ending. So
yeah,
and they didn't want to retcon, 2 or 3 seasons Voyager, basically saying they didn't happen. So that's why that's the real world version. But yeah, convenient writing. The temporal, the transwarp drives are right there. But it is interesting that she never did intend to destroy the Borg. It was just a matter of getting them home. She didn't plan on this big, and it's probably a good segue right here to start talking about our double Janeways. So Janeway does get back in the past, Admiral Janeway, that is, and she meets her contemporary self. And, we basically see, stubborn current Janeway dealing with future Janeway. And what do we think about their interactions with each other and how they, you have your more pragmatic, jaded, older Janeway, and then your current Janeway. What do we think about that, Amy?
I love it because I think, okay, if I were to go back 7 years or like, university, anytime. And I know exactly I would be the know-it-all because I know me and I remember. But what I love about that, because like you see that the whole time, Admiral Janeway's like, do it my way, I know what's best. But then at the end, she's like, I had to remember how loyal they were to you, and that doesn't translate to me as Admiral. Like, this is your ship. And I forgot that about myself. And I just loved how they worked together. That was like a beautiful moment that they shared. That Admiral Janeway learned something from her previous self.
Yeah. Kelvin, what do you think about Janeway on Janeway here?
Exactly that. You can really evaluate saying, is that what I'm going to become in the future? But that concept of forgetting the person you used to be, I think is really is the interesting dynamic here. And if I was to go back and see a young version of myself, I'd probably forget how kind of carefree, fun-loving I was, and things I've been through in my life that have maybe made me a little bit jaded and bitter. The old queen I am now. It would be really refreshing to see a little bit of innocence about me in my past. I was never innocent. So yeah, I love that. But what I do love as well is just the directing of the episode, to see, the over the shoulder camera of the back of the stand-in.
Yes.
Yeah. So you can see Admiral Janeway forward on. And
that was Amy.
But it's all the wigs didn't match, because Janeway's season 7 Janeway's bob, you could see all the side of her face, whereas the stand-in where you're looking back on, it was a huge wig.
Yes, the hair was like, whoa.
It took me out a little bit, but in the most brilliant comedy way. I loved it.
I love
what
it
did
too.
you think of them?
Oh, I mean, I enjoy it, and I think the episode hits differently on 48-year-old Christos versus this episode's about 23 years old, 24 years old now, so it's basically half my age when this episode first aired. And actually, that's kind of funny to say that. I'm right at that point, and yeah, there's goods and bads, right? There is that. I enjoy being wiser, having more patience, and the things about me that maybe, I look back on, I'm like kind of cringy parts. So like, oh, I was like that, like kind of how you were just saying, Amy. And I love that. But when I look back, there was this more carefree Christos. There was this more fearless version. I think as we get older, we get more cautious. We get more, I think fear, responsibility gets greater as we get older. And because of that, we become more cautious and more, I don't want to say conservative, but you know what I mean? Like in terms of our choices, at least. So for Janeway to kind of come back and say, hey, why did you give up coffee? It's like, it's like that. You liked that. Now, why did you give that up? Why do you, and then, hey, you used to be a certain way. And it's, while some good things do come from aging and perspective and growth, there are other things that, kind of we lose ourselves in some ways. So watching old Janeway or Admiral Janeway kind of experience that and kind of have this reawakening of, hey, wait, old me was more of a risk taker. We can do this. We can have it both ways. And working with younger Janeway is just good. So I really enjoy this. That's probably why I really enjoy this episode, because a good part of this episode is the Janeway and Janeway talking to each other and their conversations. So do we feel like Endgame handles this whole time travel thing well? Or is it too timey-wimey? Is it like too much of a plot device to be the episode convenient? What do we think about time travel here in, our finale?
I think they do a good job. And I like it for some of those reasons, Amy, that you said confused the guy you were watching it with, because you get effect preceding cause. So at the beginning, where they're very rapidly going from future to present, you see the rift open in the present before they've even opened it in the future. So it was, I love that. I love the dramatic storytelling of that aspect. Voyager does love a bit of time travel, and I think maybe that is the only thing I would say against the episode, is that Voyager's probably done a little bit too much timey-wimey time travel in comparison to DS9 and TNG. But still, I think it was handled and executed in a really good way.
Yeah, I agree. When you take into episodes like Timeless and Year of Hell and things like that, there's so many times we've done this. So they kind of maybe went to the well one too many times, but as a standalone, it's a really good, good time. Shattered. What's it?
Shattered, yeah.
Shattered. I do like that.
They went to the HG wells too many times. The USS wells in Relativity.
Yeah. So, so they do it a lot, but I don't know. I do overall enjoy. It's a clever plot device the way they do it. Now, does it fly in the face of everything we've ever learned, like we were discussing? Kind of, but hey, we're going to go with that like headcanon that we just made here, that Voyager getting home earlier is important later on down the road.
Yes.
I've got an ethical question for you. So if you make a decision, I'm going to go back in time and change something that's affected me. I'm going to go and a bit more, I'm thinking more like Tapestry now rather than Endgame, but I'm going back in time and I'm going to meet myself and I'm going to stop something from happening or make something happening. When you arrive in the past, there's two people. There was two Janeways. So does Admiral Janeway have any authority over present Janeway? Because they're two people, aren't they? You might think that you've gone back in time to meet yourself and that is you, but it's not you. It's a completely different person because there's two of you there. So if she was to, I don't know, drag her down the corridor, it's still assault. It's not you. It's the previous version if you meet them.
Well, Admiral Janeway pulled rank on herself.
Yeah.
She's like, I've got more pips than you, so you need to follow my directions. And I was like, okay, it is two different people. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I think she does pull it.
I would say she tries to pull it, but she doesn't. She does not.
Right.
But like in the beginning part, at first you don't know she's from the future. So when she orders them to close the rift, she follows orders, but quickly figures out, okay, you're from the future. She tries to, in many cases, command the crew, and the crew shows their loyalty to current Janeway. So you just get into that paradox of like, why doesn't she disappear? Because now she's in the past and her future doesn't exist yet. So that gets all into that temporal crap. You can blow your brain up.
The Borg Queen speech where it says Admiral Janeway is about to die, and if she dies, none of this will happen. I'm like, was like, whoa, hang on, where are we?
I was like, oh my gosh, that is exactly right. Oh, yeah, that made my head flip.
Yeah. So compared to, like I said, we usually kind of cover this a little bit later about who did it best, but I'm going to open this up to like all of the finales, and maybe it's the end of this one particular era where you had TNG, DS9, and Voyager, and they all had finales within a 7-year period of each other, between all good things. So how do we feel like Voyager wraps up compared to the way TNG and DS9 wrap up?
I'll go first because I do have an opinion, a little controversial. But I feel a lot of fans do feel this way. Like we had TNG, and by the end, it was everyone's favorite. Then we get Deep Space Nine, and they were just like TNG was TOS. We're not going to do anything like that. DS9 was like, all right, we're a station. We're totally different. And DS9 did its own thing. And its finale was so different than All Good Things. Then you get Janeway, and it's like, okay, we're going to go back to TNG because everyone was complaining DS9 was crap and we need to have a starship and da-da-da. So they take this risk and sort of putting them in the Delta Quadrant, but it's the same thing. We're on a ship, we're doing our thing. And so if you look at the finale of Voyager, it's way similar to All Good Things. It's this time going back and, and so it's like, Voyager is such a carbon copy in so many ways of its big show idea and philosophy. It just patterns and mirrors TNG so much. That's sort of the thing that I have an issue with Voyager. It's just back to the same and too much the same, if that makes sense.
That's a really good perspective. I have more thoughts on that in a minute. Kelvin, what do you think?
In terms of wrapping up the series, so TNG, they knew they were going into the movies. So All Good Things was a really good celebration of Next Generation with the past, the present, the future. It really paid homage to itself and it wrapped up the show, but it wasn't a finale in respect because we knew we were going straight into Generations. So it ended the series, but not the stories. Deep Space Nine was a proper finale because the storylines all ended. Yes, you could have carried on in DS9 with Bashir and Ezri, but most people went, or it ended.
Yes.
Voyager, yes, they wrapped it up because they got home. We got the end. We got the answer to the question, will they get home? But there is so much we wanted to know about these characters when they arrive home. Now, I know, Christos, you've been reading these comics, and I've read the novels as well that focus on the Full Circle fleet and everything that happens afterwards. But there's a lot of people who've said they would have loved a season 8 of Voyager that was in the Alpha Quadrant. What happened with those characters? What happened with the Maquis? How did this crew stay together? Did they split up? So in that respect, I don't think it was a good ending because that was the only ending. It was geographic. Where did they end up physically, not emotionally?
That's a good point.
Yeah. And that kind of goes right back into the way it actually ends with no, there was the big finale of MASH, the TV show. And it's like one of the most watched shows in America ever. And then they did like this show called After MASH, where they show it was a series that they showed what happened with the characters once they got home from the Korean War. So it was like you kind of got that follow up. Yeah,
remember that.
Yeah. So I like what you're saying there, Kelvin. And you're right. I was going to say the same thing about TNG. It's a great look back of the show, but it was not an ending. It never was meant to be. In DS9, I do like that when things end in DS9. It's not great for everybody, Cisco, what happened to him? Jake lost his father. Cassidy lost a husband. There's some, Damar got killed. There's some prices to pay. And it's also like a breaking up of the team. People are going off to do their things. And so you kind of like some people get left behind and some people are moving on. And so it's really kind of a conflicted, I want to say like DS9 does it best because it's a proper ending and let's face it, it's a 9-episode finale. So you can't just watch the last episode of DS9. You got to start about halfway through season 7. What would you change about Star Trek Voyager? And I mean that kind of as a whole series looking back, you all touched on some things, and there were some ideas behind Voyager that were quickly abandoned once the show started and other things. So if you had to say, what would I have liked to seen more of in Voyager, or we didn't see this in Voyager, or I wish that had gone differently in Voyager, kind of play your like what if, Kelvin,
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw this to you first, because I know
Mine's, I can't really take any credit here for being unique or bringing to the table something that's not been said a million times by a million fans. But the brilliant concept of the Maquis and the crew having to get along and come together, that was done in one episode, so season 1 should have been more of a journey, and there should have been so much more conflict with the Maquis and the Starfleet crew, rather than just one episode, get over it. Even just putting them all in Starfleet uniforms was a mistake. It should have been earned. It should have been gradual. It should have been character building and trust and relationships. So that was a huge, what was the point? Voyager was the culmination of a huge Maquis arc that started in TNG into DS9 to set up Voyager, that just went off like a disappointing firework. So that would be my judge.
Yeah. Amy, same thing?
Yeah, definitely. And because that's the connective tissue. And by then, we were okay with our crew having conflict. That was a TNG thing from Roddenberry, right? So DS9 totally got over that. And so Voyager should have continued that. But again, they went back to the TNG playbook. And that was a mistake, because that conflict is, between the Maquis. I also would have liked, I know the Borg was huge, but they came across that 84. I never know those numbers,
Species
but that's
8472.
Yes, 8472. We could have learned more about them. The Year of Hell people.
Krenim.
Yeah. I liked, they were enough, because then you're going past. But I think that 8472, they could have been more bad. So it wasn't always, we're just focused on the Borg. We're focused on the Borg. We're focused on the Borg. And I'm like, there's so many more aliens out there that are mean. So I like the introduction of 8472. I wish they would have pushed that further, like they pushed the Borg.
Yeah. The Borg was introduced as a way to get the ratings going, right?
Yeah.
The show was in trouble by, end of season 3. So getting rid of Kes, bringing in 7, introducing the Borg more into the storyline. Obviously, you have to with 7. We're all designed to kind of bounce ratings, and it worked. They did get their bounce and kind of brought, for at least a little while. But I was going to say the same thing. Had the show spent more time in season 1 and 2 integrating the crew better, it would have been really cool to see, Starfleet Academy on the holodeck kind of stuff. Like, we have to train these people. We have to kind of show them the right way. Have them earn the. It would have been nice to see like Janeway teaching a class, or even like characters like Tuvok. I mean, we see it really good in the episode 2, where B'Elanna's punching people, and it's instant. She should be in the brig, or she's going to get promotion. That happens way too fast. And I could, and 2 people put in protest or something, because I just watched that episode a week or 2 ago. But yeah, I think it just coalesces a little too fast, and it's a little bit more. It's not as believable. And, they kind of dig the well out a little bit. I wish they could have been, more unique stories. Like, I was thinking of like the 37s, and how that's very much like the neutral zone, the finale of season 1 TNG, where you're defrosting people who have been, frozen for, from the 20th century. Amy, we're going to say something?
Yeah, I will say, however, being sent to the Delta Quadrant, and I have made this comparison again before, where like when I went and worked at seriously inner city school, it was 2 years, and we were in deep, and that faculty worked together, and we were teachers from all walks of life, but with one common goal. We assimilated, and we did happy hours, and they were major good friends of mine and support. And I was only there 2 years, but for years later, we were still tight and friends. Because when you're in the trenches, like you bond because you don't have a choice. And to their point, they were in the Delta Quadrant. So you either are you going to continue fighting or are you going to say work together? So I will give them that little grace.
All right. Well, I mean, we give them a lot of grace because we love Voyager. I mean,
Yes.
some of us more than others, but awesome. Let's move to some assimilations and regenerations here. Let's what do we love about this episode? I'll kick it off with just saying that, Admiral Janeway is badass and kind of a good role model. I mean, she has so many good, like one-liners, about becoming more pragmatic. I think I added that word to my vocabulary after 24 after watching this episode. But yeah, I just like how sure of herself she is and kind of no nonsense. And I'm going to kick the Borg Queen's ass.
I have a quick one. I love that we get the All Good Things uniforms again. I love that continuity piece, even though that continuity is now long since destroyed because we don't have those in Picard. But the kind of putting it all in the same, that is the future of Starfleet in the Berman era. You're in them uniforms. Great. Loved it. Always have. But I also like this acknowledgement that it only really seems to be Harry Kim who is constantly desperate to get home, very organically and without them realizing it's happening to them. They all have accepted that Voyager is their home. So when they keep saying about getting home, let's get home, Tom Paris says in this episode, I am home.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this thing of when they do get home, they're all going to go the separate way. They're going to lose this found family connection and the way they cohabit and live on Voyager. And it took 7 years, but for most people in the crew, yes, they're traveling to the Alpha Quadrant because that's the mission. But Voyager's home. And I like that. I like that it's not, oh, what a shame, we're all stuck here, to this is where we belong.
I really enjoy, I kind of pushed us ahead because I knew some of this would spark conversations. I really enjoy the fact that like David Mack's novel Firewall kind of dives into 7 of 9's loss of home, because Voyager was her home and that was her family, and suddenly she didn't have it anymore. And it was a big traumatic thing getting home, and her existence was Voyager. And so that's a really good, tie back to that, Kelvin.
Yeah, I love that too. And especially when you're hearing Roxana Dawson, come on. B'Elanna, yeah, saying, I thought we were going to raise our daughter on Voyager. And Tom's like, yeah. And it's that sense of home is really strong. And you feel like, yes, this is a crew. And we know so much about each of the characters. So that homey, warm blanket of Voyager is definitely there in this episode.
Oh, I've got a very quick question just based on that.
Yeah.
Do you think Voyager should have got home then? Would you have been disappointed if the series ended with the fact that they just accepted that we're better together? We don't want to go home. Let's just stay in the Delta Quadrant exploring.
What a question.
That was the realization of, you know what? Let's just stay together and be explorers in the Delta Quadrant.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love that idea. Yes, I want that to happen.
Yeah, that would have been cool. That could have been a way to end the show. I don't know if fans would have liked that or not. I think it would have been divisive. A couple of things to consider there: resources, right? Voyager is, always seemed to figure it out. That was another thing that you could have judged about the show, was having resources be more of a problem. How many photon torpedoes did we fire over 7 seasons?
And shuttles.
And shuttles and You know, like there could have been more
Yeah,
about
that
we
is.
need this, we need that, and they did have opportunities to like put down roots on some planets. I mean, even in the 37s, Janeway makes a
Oh,
dire
yeah.
decision to
Like,
she
who
could,
wants
and
to
those were
stay?
those were humans in that
Mhm.
episode. You know, they could have stayed there.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's give and take.
Okay, I have an amazing assimilation that I just realized from watching this episode. And Jerry Ryan, she acts with her whole body, and it is beautiful. Like from her face to her breathing to how she like does her neck muscles. Because she's especially with when she's with Chakotay is when I noticed it. Like the her awkwardness of, oh, do I kiss him now or do I, but her whole body acts. And I mean, she has to because her whole body is on display. Let's put that aside. But to her credit, she uses what she has and it really is brilliant.
I like the special effects in this episode, between we see the ship upgrades, we see transwarp corridors, I don't know. I would say the only thing I would say about this episode is that the episode itself needs an upgrade. We need to see this baby in 4K.
Yes.
Like it is. I mean, I'm watching it on a 75-inch television, and it's a little grainy, it's a little blurry in places but I bet you, if this got the proper TNG treatment, it would look phenomenal.
Oh yeah, because these big TVs and half of it's black,
Yeah. I want to say when it comes to these older shows, I tend to want to watch TNG more because they've done the work and it looks so beautiful with today's technology. All right, let's talk about some regenerations. I think the most common one, and I will say this, I guess probably for every Trek fan there is, Voyager arrives home and cut to black. You know what I mean? We see it kind of joining an armada, and it's beautiful, but hey, Amy wanted that extra season. I would have loved to have seen at least 10 minutes. Give us give us what we got. And I'll tie this back, and maybe I can appreciate more what Terry Matalos did with the last episode of Picard, the final episode. We really get like that 15-minute epilogue of Picard kind of wrapping everybody up and showing how they got past what happened, and then even setting up a spinoff. But that is what Voyager did wrong. So maybe that was the lesson there from Terry Matalos, was to do Picard right and give our TNG characters especially this big epilogue.
Again, mine's a very popular opinion or unpopular opinion, whatever you want to phrase it, but Seven and Chakotay. It's not the fact that they are together. It's just there's no continuity to this. If you watch the episode before, they are not in any kind of flirtatious relationship. You have human error where Seven is having a go on the holographic Chakotay, but that's got nothing to do with real Chakotay. And then you have a couple of episodes before Natural Law where they're both marooned on a planet. Yes, that's a lot of character development time between the two, but there is no hints of romance there. To going straight into Endgame, which, according to the stardate, is only a couple of weeks after the previous episode. So it's not like there's been a gap and all this off screen. And now they're having third dates and picnics. So it's the lack of continuity that I object to in this relationship. The fact it's like, oh my God, we've got one episode left, we want to do this. Rather than the fact that they are together at all.
Yeah, it's kind of forced on us as a plot device, right?
Yeah. Yes. And I don't even understand why. Like, she was, having a thing with the doctor, and it's obvious the doctor is still hopeful and wanting, Seven, and so now she's like bouncing between. No.
I think it's how men write women.
Yes.
I think, women are a problem to be solved. You've got to either get one pregnant or get one married. And it's a very brave choice to have an unmarried, childless woman, because what's wrong there,
Yeah.
it really gives me the ick that
Yes.
was the way women were written for. And don't get me started on Deep Space Nine, how they did it there. So that's a complete other episode. But I think that's what it was, Amy. I think they wanted to finish Seven's character with, let's get her a man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I thought the dating aspect was cute because she's, now she's our Data, exploring, new theory, in theory, so that was cute. I was fine with that, and her and the doctor, and they sang well together, but like that made more sense. Yeah. To just there was no previous. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. This regeneration, I don't even understand who the costume designer was, but those future uniforms are absolutely disgusting. They make everyone look frumpy. And just because you're old doesn't mean you're frumpy. And this entire time, every admiral we have seen on screen has looked sharp, fitted. And when you get those panels that like come down and they just bring your entire shoulders down, you don't have any frame. It just rounds you out. Frumpiness, disgusting. But the badges are pretty cool. And I'm wearing mine.
I love how you just...
I quite like the uniforms.
What?
Yeah.
The frumpy grossness of them?
I thought it looked good on Captain Beverly Picard and all good things.
I knew you was going to say that. In fact, I stopped myself from saying it because I knew it had come out of your mouth. But I do think they got a little bit of a zhuzh into Voyager because they seemed a little more cinched at the waist, I found, in Voyager.
I don't know.
I mean, they're allowed not to be your favorite, and they're certainly not my favorite. But I liked the reusing of them. And if a certain Chinese seller would create one, I'd probably buy one.
If you're listening.
Shocking.
Hello.
Shocking.
Oh, I do have a quick question. When Admiral Janeway was buying or, stealing the thing from the Klingons, that Klingon to me looked total undiscovered country. Like all the hair. Was that what Klingons... Are they going back to undiscovered country? Did Klingons look like that?
I mean,
they got a lot cleaner in DS9.
I feel like the Klingons from Star Trek 3 on all kind of had a similar aesthetic to all the way through even to Enterprise.
I think I know what it is. I think it's because he was white. So Vaughn Armstrong, who played that Klingon, obviously is a white guy, and to get around a lot of the parallels to racism in the undiscovered country, a lot of the Klingons were almost whitewashed, if you think about it.
Yes. Okay. That's what that is.
So we had white hair,
a
lighter skin tone than a lot of the TNG and DS9 Klingons, and indeed the actors that played them. So I think that's maybe where your mind might have gone, Amy.
Yeah. Okay.
I love my continuity, especially anything to do with star dates. That scene where Tuvok's ranting and going, she's never coming back. Her disappearance remains a mystery. And he's repeating that star date over and over. When Bob Picardo says the star date, he gets two of the numbers in the wrong order. He goes the 1 and the 7 the wrong way around. So when Tuvok says it, it's 7-1. And then Bob says it's 1-7.
Yeah.
And interestingly, the only other character I know who has done this in Voyager was Jerry Ryan as well in the Omega Directive. But hers was a huge cock up because it was the first 2 numbers of the star date.
Oh, yeah.
So it was supposed to be 5-1 and she says 1-5. And I'm like, my God, you've just taken us back 100 years, Jerry.
Yeah, right?
Only you, Kelvin. Only you. Completely off topic, but speaking of like things that people get wrong, and Amy's gonna like this one too. I came home from my trip this week, and my latest fan home ship was home waiting for me, and it is the USS Archer from the premiere of Strange New Worlds, which is basically a saucer and one nacelle below it, which I've always liked that design. I think we've talked about that before. I mean, I've been waiting for this one. So I'm looking at the registry, and okay, it is what it is. But I was watching a deep dive, I don't know, the Trek culture video, and they were talking about Star Trek Nemesis, and they were actually it was about Intrepid class. So it is on Voyager. It was talking about Intrepid class ships, and Voyager and the USS Intrepid were the first two Intrepid class ships, and the USS Intrepid was in the fleet that the Enterprise is trying to get to in Nemesis, so they could attack Shinzon as a group. Enterprise never gets there, but there's this fleet waiting for them, and the USS Intrepid is part of that fleet. Well, the USS Archer is also part of that fleet, and it has a completely different registry number than the one in Strange New Worlds. So, there you go. I mean, you could, I don't know. I was like, oh, continuity. I thought of Kelvin immediately.
Yeah.
Of Kelvin, so I tied that back to Voyager pretty good.
Nice.
Well, speaking of trivia and continuity, let's kick it off here. I'll start with our future Admiral Janeway's first appearance is the second time we've seen a future Janeway, the first being in Timeless, Season 5, Episode 6, though that was in an alternate timeline.
Alice Krige returns as the Borg Queen, reprising her role from Star Trek First Contact. Susanna Thompson had played the Queen in prior Voyager episodes.
Kind of up their game there.
So glad to see Alice Krige back. She's my Borg Queen.
Mm-hmm. Time travel symmetry. So Endgame does mirror TNG's All Good Things by featuring a future version of a captain who takes risky action to correct, in inverted commas, the timeline. Both season finales or series finales aired as the 26th of their respected final seasons. The good
so
old
does that
days.
mean DS9 didn't end on 26?
They may have.
May have, but the stories were completely different. Well,
Yeah.
I think it's just the TNG, as you've said, TNG and Endgame are very similar.
Yeah.
I do enjoy that, like, Tuvok's mental condition in the future timeline ties back to earlier Voyager episode, particularly Riddles, which was all the way back in Season 6, Episode 6, where his neurological fragility, I said that right, was explored.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good episode, Riddles. Janeway's promotion to Admiral is consistent with her later appearance in Star Trek Prodigy, where she is still an Admiral in both hologram and real form.
Well, I think it's also wrong here. We first see Admiral Janeway in Nemesis.
We do.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, her little cameo.
Okay, so in the Borg hub destruction, the Queen's final moments are a callback to First Contact, with her body decaying similarly. It's implied that the destruction of the Transwarp hub would significantly cripple the Borg, and this is a development picked up in Picard Season 2 and Season 3.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I would say it's not just the hub. I mean, Janeway takes out the main Unimatrix, right? Admiral Janeway. It's not just the hub that's destroyed. It's like their main, the main Borg's compound, I guess we'll call it.
And when the Queen, that my favorite destruction of her, like the arm and the leg, that was cute. But like when her suit unclasped, because it was the exact inverse of when we see her descend and then her suit clasp to her skin. And this is the unclasping. And I thought, oh, just perfection right there.
Yeah, I like it too. Lo and behold, 7 and 9 and Chakotay's relationship, although maybe hinted at in earlier episodes, was largely unbuilt until Endgame. Its sudden elevation here has been debated by fans and is later contradicted in Picard Seasons 1 through 3.
The final shot of Voyager approaching Earth marks the end of Star Trek's continuous 14-year run on TV from 1987 to 2001. TNG through Enterprise first season, making it an emotional milestone. Enterprise as a prequel would stop the continuous story.
Yeah, I think what this is getting at is not necessarily the end of Star Trek on TV. That would come another 4 years later, but it was the end of this, beginning the storyline that starts in 2364 with the Enterprise and encounter at Farpoint.
Yeah.
All right. So we're getting to our final thoughts here. It's going to come down to who did it best. This is our third episode in the series, and I feel like we just did episode 2 not too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
But we've had covered so far TOS's Turnabout Intruder, Discovery's Life Itself, and now Voyager's Endgame. Who did it best? Kelvin.
Endgame.
Wow.
Straight in there. Very easy, because I would never choose to watch Turnabout Intruder or the final episode of Discovery if I just wanted to sit down and watch a comfort Star Trek. Endgame is a brilliant episode that I did watch it this morning because I wanted to enjoy it, but literally committed to memory. I could have done this episode from memory. It's a brilliant episode. It's a brilliant finale. I'm interested to see, will my opinion change as this series goes on and we cover some other finales in Trek? But of the ones we've done so far, no competition. It's Endgame.
Amy?
I've also got to go Endgame. And the reason my question was Discovery, because I love that last season of Discovery. However, it's just because the crew is home. You can't say that about Discovery. There's no crew. It's just Discovery will always have that as a mark of a negative aspect because we have TNG, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, these amazing crew. Oh, so go on Endgame.
Yeah. What about you, Christos?
I'm going to say the same, only for the reason I even said it earlier in the episode. I can turn this on at any time and just watch it, whether I'm in and out of the room doing laundry and cleaning house, or whether I'm on the couch and I'm engaged in it. I can turn this on anytime and enjoy it. Discovery Life Itself, I really enjoy, but you kind of have to watch that whole season together.
Mm-hmm.
That is the flaw to Voyager in general. Discovery in general is that you have to. You just can't watch one. That makes it really hard. So I think it's unanimous. We have Endgame. I like it when we're in agreement. I mean, sometimes we're not, and that's good.
It's been a while.
It's about time Amy was right. Amy, why don't you tease what's next for all of us?
Okay, listeners. Please come to YouTube Live Sunday at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, 5 p.m. UK to see Kelvin and I with Kristen doing the news. And we have two amazing hosts, our favorite, Trivia with Jim and Matt Jennings, to do our premiere week. We are so excited. So please tune in YouTube Sunday.
Well, Amy, are you saying Sunday as in October 5th?
5th, yes.
Okay.
And for the next 8 Sundays after that, taking us right through to Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Awesome.
All set. We're so excited for season 4.
Me too. I get to take my Sunday mornings back and just sit on the couch with my coffee and watch you guys. So.
Now, do you have any interviews lined up for What's the Tea, Beth?
Yes, I do. My goal,
I'm
going to publicly state this so that I can hold myself accountable.
No takes back.
I know. I want to release at least 2 to 3 episodes while you guys are on hiatus. So over the next 8 weeks, I do have 1 or 2 business trips in there, which would have resulted in me not being able to record with you guys anyway. So yeah. So look for some new What's the Tea, Bev, coming your way. And I even have some new ideas on how to switch the show up a little bit. So I'm going to try and freshen it up a little bit and maybe eventually get to doing a live show, because if I do live shows, it's a little, hopefully the reward will be there on the editing side.
Yes.
So, all right. We would love to hear what you thought of today's show. And there are many ways you can do this. You can join our Facebook group, the BQN Collective. You can join our Discord server, or you can follow the network on Blue Sky and Instagram at BQN Podcasts. To continue our discussion there, you can find the links and the invite code in the show notes. So, Kelvin, where can people find you when you're not traveling back in time to help younger Kelvin Ho?
Shout out to Kelvin Ho. When I'm not doing that, you can find me directly on most of the socials at Kelvin's Timeline or in the BQN Collective Facebook group. Or, like Amy's just said, for the next 8 weeks, you can come to YouTube, to BQN Podcasts YouTube page, and watch us on the view screen for a couple of hours every Sunday morning or Sunday tea time, depending where you are. And chat with us. You can get in the comments box and chat and participate in the show. Please join us. Amy, where can people find you when you are not pretending to go back in time to save everybody's lives, but really it's just because you want a less frumpy uniform?
Yes, that is the reason. So you will be seeing me going back to get rid of that frumpiness. So yes, joining the view screen with Kelvin. So please come Sunday. Love to do that. You can also listen to me on Union Federation, and we are going to be covering the Q series that came out on DVD, you know, the little special releases. So we are going to be starting that and looking forward to that little series. I am in the Discord server and in our Facebook group, BQN Collective. And Christos, where can people find you when you're not flying your intrepid ship around the house?
Where'd it go? You can find me in the BQN Collective. You can find me on our Discord server, and you can find me on Instagram at What's the TBev.
If you'd like to help keep all of our shows coming to you each week, you can become a patron of the network on Patreon for just $1 a month. You can join our episode reaction shows, script readings, and enjoy some Patreon-only shows of It's Green and Amy's Math Moments. Visit patreon.com/BQN to get all the details and watch your messages.
Now, if becoming a patron isn't your thing, you can still support the show by sharing our posts on social media. Just hit that share button. Talking about it with your friends. You know, you can share episodes and you can just say, hey, check out this episode. Or you can hit the subscribe button, which we hope you are, so you won't miss any of our episodes. You could leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a star rating. That really does help others to find our show, and we want to build this amazing Star Trek community.
At this time, we'd like to thank our very own associate producer, JJ Seastrom. A special thanks to Graham Kelly for our opening and closing music, and to Kelvin for our artwork each and every week. Kelvin, I've not seen this week's art. I'm looking.
Not done it yet.
I know.
Too busy doing the view screens for next week.
I know. I mean, you only have to do one. I know you like to send us a couple options, and unless you really feel like you enjoy your voting polls. But,
I do actually.
Thank you for listening.
We hope you'll join us as we search out
all good things.